All right, you guys, let's do this. Last round of the semifinals. Two sports facing off. Two Summer Olympic sports. Fencing. Which sport is better? Fencing or water polo? This is kind of bad handwriting. I apologize. So, how are they similar? How are they different? Individual sport, team sport. This is played in water. This is played on land. This is a ball sport. This is a sword sport, I'm gonna call it. Yeah, both are at the Summer Olympics. And both, so I've played both, and they both require skill. Although, and skill in, be it a ball or a sword, it requires mastery of an object external to oneself. I'll put it that way. All right, so the overarching evaluation criteria in this round of competition, the semifinals, this is match 2 of 2. In the first round, curling won over bobsled. And so, physical, mental, social health and wellness of athletes in the sport. That is the overarching evaluation criteria for this round and this match. And so, let's start with physical health and wellness. So, these are both extremely physically taxing. Yeah. I like saying that. I get tired thinking about both of these sports. They require extreme endurance and extreme muscle strength to be able to perform even at a basic competition, basic practice level well. Like, they require stamina. And yes, the training for water polo might be a little more varied than fencing, but you can, to build muscle strength, and especially leg strength. In fencing, one can actually vary one's activities to build the leg strength necessary to maintain fencing posture during fencing itself. So they actually have varied approaches to endurance and stamina building. And that's kind of vague, but yeah. And actually, they both require extreme leg stamina, because in water polo, this is actually one sport that actually rivals water polo on leg strength is fencing. Because the movements, while it's on land, you're not standing upright on land. You do have there is a fencing posture that's maintained. And not only that, but extreme precision of movement that requires extreme leg strength comparable to having to tread in water polo. So I would say on the pure physical level, this is the first sport in a water polo pairing match off where these sports are equal in physical exertion. So physical health and wellness is a tie. Mental health and wellness. Both of these sports, so water polo is high contact, like hand-to-hand contact, not hand-to-hand combat, and like body-to-body contact kind of thing. Fencing is not hand-to-hand contact, but it is weapon-to-weapon, sword-to-sword contact. So they're actually kind of similar in that way. So I would say for the mental health aspect, I would give both of these, like, individually a 100% health. Like, you can achieve really good mental health with each of these sports, because fencing requires such attention and precision that it's a really great sport for taking one's mind off of everything else and just focusing here on the moment, on breathing, on movement, on interpreting the world around oneself. Here comes a weapon at me, what do I do? It takes one's mind and really hones it and sharpens it. And then on the health side of things, like, there's a very therapeutic sense to it where you can take a sword and fight somebody else with a sword and let out any latent anger. And water polo is exactly the same. It's like you have any issues with someone, leave it in the sword. And if you have any issue for fencing, and if you have any issues with anyone for water polo, leave it in the pool. Like, you can take it, like, it's a high contact sport, and that's kind of like, even in practice level, that was like, you got issues, you take it out with me now in the pool. Like, that's part of the great thing about this sport, is that you can it is a place where you can release any pent up anger, and it doesn't come out as anger. It is channeled into healthy avenues, and that actually drive these sports. And so I cannot like emphasize, these are really great, it's okay, really great sports for mental health, assuming, and this one's kind of unique to water polo, assuming you have a good team. I can see if you're not on a good team, or you're not on the right team, that kind of thing, I could see potentially that kind of not deteriorating, but like drawing away from the mental health aspect. But to be fair, that could also be true for fencing, and who one's like fencing sparring practice buddies kind of are, that kind of thing. But yeah, so I would say these are on par with each other in terms of mental health and wellness of athletes, or at least what the athletes can be with these sports. So it's going to come down to social health or something, health and wellness or something else. So social health and wellness. Well, fencing, you do get to speak, but you get to kind of make noise while like in competition mode. And water polo is like, you have to talk with the team and interact with your teammates. And in that sense, even if you're not, like, if you're butting heads, that's actually really good social interaction, because then that allows, like, or if I'm butting heads with someone, that allows me to think about, how do I make this social interaction like work? And so it can actually create a really good vibe, because we like get to understand each other and get the social interactions right, and form, if you have a really good team, really great social interactions. Fencing has that same potential too. So for both of these, it depends very much on who one is fencing with, at least on a practice level, and then with water polo, who's on one's team. So those both have the same potential, where fencing is very different than water polo is on the etiquette. I think water polo has etiquette too, but when it comes game time and so, like, the entire other team hasn't cut their nails, like, you can scratch all you want, but when they're really super short, the scratches aren't going to be very deep. So in water polo, one is required to cut nails before the game, and the refs can even check nails, and if they're too long, they'll require players to cut their nails. And so that's something to keep in mind. You have to have short nails in water polo, especially match time. And why does this matter? Because in fencing, so there is etiquette built in to both of these sports, which are kind of unique to these sports. I would say fencing takes it a step further, in that for the social health, there's a respect component built into the etiquette and how the matches are played out that is very unique to fencing and to martial arts. So like karate, for example. They're kind of centered around this having respect for both oneself and one's opponent. And if one doesn't have self-respect, they have, at the very least, the sport is centered around etiquette that is centered on respect for one's opponent. And so in that sense, I'm actually going to count that as social health, because if one's feeling bad and surrounded by a bunch of bad people in life, fencing, if you're doing the actual sport of fencing, you can guarantee social health and being able to execute one's respect for one's opponent. And so I would actually say fencing edges out water polo on the social health and wellness aspect of having those not forced interactions, but those, it's a standard for the sport, is social respect and etiquette for one's opponents. So it's just not that water polo does have standards. Like there are sports where there aren't really standards for etiquette and social interactions. Both of these sports, I should say, have standards for interactions. And I just think fencing, that can do a lot. The etiquette that's part of fencing can do wonders for one's self-confidence. And that's kind of a positive feedback into mental health. When I can execute my social interactions of respect for the other players, where I might not have that avenue elsewhere in life at a certain point in time. So for that reason, on the social health and wellness, fencing just so slightly edges out water polo. So which sport is better? Fencing is going to take it over water polo. So which sport is better, fencing or water polo? Fencing takes it. And this second semifinal match. So then recap video next, and then the champion.